What a difference a week makes. Welcome back to my channel, Bucket List Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Lynn. I know I've gotten a lot of new subscribers in the last week or two, so great big welcome. I don't take it for granted that you choose my channel to watch and subscribe to. I know you have lots of choices out there because I myself watch a lot. I watch more YouTube than I do normal TV now, so I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. So, what a difference a week makes. As you know, one of the things I wanted to try this year, a goal I set for myself, was to try Sourdough Starter. And let's just say the last week didn't go so great when I first tried, but I did not give up. And I reached out to my friend Anny from Back to Basics Homestead, who is the one who graciously sent me some of her starters she named Hope. I reached out to her and she gave me some great tips and advice and a couple of things I figured out on my own. And look at that. So that's where we started this morning. That's where we are right now. That is what I've been waiting for. Ta-da! Isn't that amazing? So I have been practicing a little bit with some of the sourdough, and we are going to make a recipe in a few minutes. But first, I just wanted to give you what I have learned, and I am not an expert, and this is probably better than coming from an expert because I know there's a lot of you out there who want to try it, and I was intimidated to try it. I am going to say it is a bit of work, not insane amount of work, but it's very, it is a little bit of work. I have found that using my Alexa to set reminders to help me know when to feed it was a big plus. So this is what Annie told me to do, and this is what worked. So every day, twice a day, between 7 and 8 in the morning and between 7 and 8 at night, I fed my starter. So what I did was I took 50 grams of, and it has to be in grams, okay? Or it's not in like cup measurements or anything. I took 50, sorry, I had to get the dog to go lay down. So I take 50 grams out of this, I weigh it, and I was throwing away the rest, and then I realized I can do things with that called the discard. So we'll get to that in a minute. So I would take 50 grams of this starter every day, weigh it in a new glass jar, 50 grams of bread flour. Bread flour is definitely the key to at least getting this started. I've been using bread flour. I was using all-purpose flour in the beginning, and I switched all to bread flour. So my bread flour is organic, unbleached bread flour, okay? So 50 grams of the starter, 50 grams of the bread flour, and 50 grams of water. Stir it all up. And I've tried a couple of things. I tried cheesecloth, and what I ended up doing was what Annie told me, to take a canning lid, turn it upside down, and I just barely turn on, it's still loose. Just enough that it doesn't seal it, enough to protect it. And I was having a problem with temperature, if you remember, and temperature is very important to sourdough starter. So what I started doing, first I tried my seedling mat. That really wasn't working. I thought for sure it would, but I was getting very dried out on top, which is no big deal. I just would discard that little piece, but it still wasn't rising. It was bubbling, but it wasn't giving me the lift it needed. So obviously it still wasn't warm enough. So in my oven, with the light on, not the oven on, just the light, I would put that in there, and that is what it needed. It actually gets quite toasty warm in there with just the light on, and it loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I've been doing this it took me, when was the first time? Yesterday was the first time it rose, so I think that was 4 days of feeding it twice a day, and then I noticed a little bit of difference the second day. Third day I noticed some more, but this today was a really big difference, right up the jar. I'm just so excited. And I named mine Phoenix for a couple reasons. One, it's kind of a pun because Phoenix rise. Sourdough rises, yeah, I know. And the other reason is just for personal reasons where I feel like I am in my life. So Phoenix, I am so happy, is alive and doing well so far. So I will keep feeding this. I'll feed it again tonight. And then I have to decide how often I'm going to use my sourdough. I'm not going to bake every single day, so I eventually will put this in the refrigerator, and that scares me a bit. I'm not going to lie. And I need to set a schedule to feed it once a week. Bring it out of the refrigerator, let it warm up for about 2 hours, feed it, make sure it's doing its thing, and put it back in the refrigerator. It doesn't kill it, it just slows it down, and just keeps it going until I do need it to cook with or bake with. So I'm a little nervous to put it in the refrigerator because things are going so well right now. So tonight I will feed this again one more time. I'll just make sure your family knows it's in there, because boy, you turn that oven on and that's going to be a disaster. So yes, so don't give up. Keep trying. It got there. So that being said, Annie's like, you can be using your discard for stuff. I mean, I wish I'd known that before I threw away quite a bit of discard. So I'm like, okay. This is my discard, and I only had about this much this morning, so it's doubled. And we're going to use that in the recipe today. So that is the discard, okay? And what really is exciting about baking your own is I can control the tang. That tanginess you get from sourdough just by how long I keep my starter out, how long I keep the dough out when you make your bread, which, by the way, we already had some, but I made sourdough bread today. And I already can tell it has a little more tang than I personally prefer. Grace loves the tang. She likes that tangy flavor. But that, I can already tell I'm going to cut back the time on how long I let it rest after I made it into the dough. But that's what's cool about this. We can control the tang. So, with my other discard, I also made cinnamon sugar donuts. They are fabulous, fabulous. They turned out really good. And I'm just so excited. This is like opened up a whole new world for me, and it's exciting to be back in the kitchen with something new that's working. So today I'm going to make double chocolate sourdough muffins. This is pretty much the same recipe I made last week when I made double chocolate muffins, but we are adding the discard. And I need half a cup, and I definitely have half a cup here now. And so I didn't feed that. So this recipe calls for an unfed starter. That's discard that I just put into the jar. And I didn't feed it or anything, and it's already doing its thing, which is weird. It's gotten bigger without me feeding it. So I'm not sure how that happened. But so that's starting to fall right now. I can see we're falling a bit, but that's okay. So it was up to here. See that? It was up to here, and it's fallen down to here already. So now it's starting to get hungry. So in a couple hours, I will do my thing again. And I'll have more discard that I'm going to save for some more things coming this week. The family's going to get a little sick of sourdough things. But it's a great way to find out what we like and what we don't. So for this recipe, you're going to need baking soda, baking powder, sour cream, some kind of oil. I'm using this almond oil that I have, vanilla, chocolate chips, some milk, 2 eggs, your sourdough discard. You can also use your starter. You don't have to use discard. It's just that's what I'm going to use today. Some sugar and flour. And that's it. Oh, and cocoa. Right there. And baking cocoa. Okay? And as always, I will share my recipe or the link to the recipe down in the description box below. You also, or if you're like me, you need an apron because you are a messy baker. And we're going to whip these up. And they're going to go into I believe it's 425, 425 degree oven for the first 5 minutes. Let them poof up, and then we lower the temperature to, I believe it's 350. And then we'll decide how much longer they're going to be in there for. The last batch I did about 12 minutes, I think. divided the dough in half and I still use the same amount of chocolate chips. So now they're all gonna have chocolate chips. I wanted to say that for the last little bit, I've been using my lard that I rendered down last fall from leaf fat that I got from the people we get our pig meat from, our pork from. I'm loving it. Friends, it is so, there's no flavor whatsoever. You don't taste any like porkiness or bacon or anything. And things slide out so much easier, which makes cleanup easier. I just love it. It is just amazing. But I did notice a couple of these. I must have forgot to do the bottom, so I'm just going to add a little bit more to this one. But highly, highly recommend. There's a reason our great grandmothers used lard, because they were smart ladies. The only thing different I will do next time, I will put it in little tinfoil bread pans. You know, the kind you can get, they're just mini. I will put them in that till they solidify, so it's much easier to get out. I do find it hard to get out of some of the mason jars because some of them are not wide mouth. So that's one thing I will do different next time going forward. I really wish we had smell-o-vision. Look at them. These look amazing. These look even better than the ones I made last week. I am pretty excited. And I should mention, sorry for the naked face. It's the weekend. I don't tend to wear makeup as much on the weekend. And frankly, chemo left me with a lot of gifts that I didn't ask for. And one of them is a lot of things make my face extremely, I'm so sensitive to so many things now. I have to be careful what I put on it. And I've been wearing a lot of makeup lately, so I just need a break. So no, I'm not sick. No, I'm not tired. I just don't have makeup on today. So they're all cool. We've had supper. I just found out David had one, and I didn't know. What'd you think?
They're delicious.
So I'm just going to try one here. Ooh, look at that. Wow. Wow. This is going to be my go-to muffin recipe. Sorry. From now on. They're moist. They're so flavorful. And for those of you who don't like sourdough or family members who don't, you'll never know there's sourdough in here. The chocolate kind of hides it. But, oh my gosh, the flavor is incredible. Okay, big plus. I mean, the ones I made last week were amazing. The only thing adding to it is a sourdough starter, but it's a good way not to waste your starter. Now, it's almost time to feed my sourdough. So I'm going to take you along and show you exactly what I learned to get it to finally work. That's fallen quite a bit. You can see where it was and where it is. So he's hungry. He needs to be fed. So what you're going to need is another clean jar, a scale that you can tar out so you can make it 0, okay? A funnel. I find this is big helpful because this is messy. And sourdough does not come off easy, let me tell you. So what I'm going to do, tar that out to 0. I'm going to take 50 grams of this and put it into here, okay? It's still pretty bubbly, but he's hungry. So we're going to do 50 grams. Put the rest of it in this discard. I'm going to tar it out again, and I'm going to put 50 grams of my bread flour in here. Also been using distilled water. I don't know if my well water was causing any issues, but just in case, I'm going to put a little bit of that in there. There we go. I use this. So, and we're going to do 50 grams of room temperature water. Now, stir it up. That should be the consistency. Okay. Remember, our lid's upside down. And we're not going to crank this on. We're just going to go lightly. to stick that right here for a minute. Okay, so it's still loose, but it's not, I don't have it cranked on. And I'm gonna put it in my oven with the light on for the night, okay? It's already warm in there because the light bulb's been on for a bit. And that's it. I'll show you in the morning how he looks. So it's the next morning, and Phoenix had its morning feed. He, as you can see, went all the way up here last night, and then fell. And he's already, I fed him about an hour ago, and he's already rising. This is my experiment with my discard. That doubled too, so I might have 2 starters going now. But that's okay. I'm so glad I didn't give up and I stuck with it. And that is how I've been doing my starter and my discard. So it seems to be working. So I hope if you've been thinking about trying it, you know, this helps inspire you to try it. I'm glad, and I'm excited to try all things sourdough going over in the next week or so. Like I said, my family's probably going to be sick of sourdough. Excuse the wet head. Sorry. I came down in the morning early to feed him and was in my pajamas, so that's why I didn't film feeding it, but it was exactly the same thing that I did last night. 50, 50, 50. Okay, and he'll be going back into the warm oven that has just the light bulb on for the day. And the discard I'm going to keep out on my counter because that's kind of what I'm experimenting with, keeping one on the counter to see what happens. But there we go. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please don't forget to give me a great big thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you want to help my channel, the easiest, no-cost way to help my channel is to share my channel on your social media with your friends and family. It helps me immensely. Those thumbs up help too. Until then, take care, God bless, and we'll see you all soon.